Hey everyone, in this video we shall cover DOM manipulation in JavaScript and we shall see an example using event listeners also. The word DOM is an acronym for Document Object Model, and the DOM is more like the programming feature of web pages. Remember, we said earlier that HTML is a markup language, not a programming language. The DOM represents the web page in a way that allows languages like JavaScript to effect change in the document structure, the style, and even the content of the web page. So the DOM is more like a programming interface for web pages that collects codes written in programming languages and makes it to have an effect on our style sheets or our HTML. Let's use our smartphones for example. Our smartphones are capable of using electricity, but they can't generate electricity. Now, our smartphones can't generate electricity, but they need it to function. So for them to have access to electricity, they are plugged into a wall socket that collects electricity and serves it to the phone chargers. In this example, the wall socket is the DOM that collects electricity, in our case which is code from JavaScript, and serves it to the phone, in our case which is the web page. So let's see a practical example of how to use JavaScript to manipulate our HTML through the DOM. Let's get rid of this and let's generate a boilerplate first. Let's say, and our boilerplate has been generated. Let's say JavaScript DOM. So let's say we have a h3 heading tag here that says welcome to Migrant Solutions, and let's put a button tag here. It says touch. Let's save that. Now this is all for my HTML file for now, and I have an index.js file here and an index.css file here. The next thing to do is linking our CSS file with our HTML file, and let's say index.css. Our file has been linked. So before we proceed, let's link our JavaScript file. Let's say script, and let's say index.js. And you must not link your file here. You could link it anywhere in the head tag or before the body tag, whichever works for you. So let's head over to our CSS file to ensure our files have been linked properly. So let's say margin, let's set that to 0, and let's set our padding to 0 also. I think, let's say font size, let's put 45px. Let's save this and let's go to our browser. To go to our browser, let's come to our file in our folder and let's open it with Google Chrome. Oh, that works fine. The font size is huge, 45px. So let's take that back and let's say 13px. Now our CSS file is properly linked to our index.html file. Now let's check if our JavaScript file is working properly. To do that, let's console.log anything. Let's say welcome to Migrant Solutions, and let's save that, and let's go to our browser. Let's refresh our browser and let's head over to the console deck to see if we have that in our console deck. Yeah, we have it here. Welcome to Migrant Solutions. So every file is working properly and every file is properly linked. So let's get rid of this. So the first thing to do here is we shall be grabbing some elements in our HTML file. And when I mean elements, we shall be grabbing the h3 elements or the button elements. But to make your work easier, let's set some classes here. and let's set this to migrant, and let's set another class here to touch. You can give it any name you want to give it. Now let's head back to our JavaScript file. What we shall be doing with our JavaScript file, we shall be grabbing an element that has the class of migrant, and we shall be grabbing the element that has the class of touch. The element that has the class of migrant is welcome to migrant solutions, wrapped in an h3 tag, and the element that has the touch class is touch, wrapped in the button tag. So let's head over to our JavaScript file and let's put some comments there. Let's say set variables to grab the classes in HTML. So when we are grabbing the elements from our HTML file, we'll have to store them in a variable in our JavaScript file so that we can use that variable to manipulate the elements that we grabbed. Let's use the let's keyword and say my heading. Also, this variable name is not default. You can give it any name you want to give it. And let's say let's effect. We are declaring these variables. We are not assigning them yet. So let's assign values to this variable. Let's say document dot query selector, and let's pass in the name of the class we want to grab and store in this my heading variable. So the name of the class we want to grab and store in this variable called my heading is the dot migrant class. And this is how to call classes in JavaScript also. You use the dot notation. You say dot migrant just the way we do it in CSS. Now let's go to the next variable that we declared and set that to document.query selector. Let's grab the second class, which is the touch class. And with this document.query selector, the document.query selector grabs an element from our HTML document. So also you can see things like document.getElement by ID, document.getElement by class name. There are lots of them, and there are lots of these functions you can use to manipulate the DOM. For now, we are using the query selector. Let's head back to our browser. Let's refresh to see what we have. No changes. So let's head back to our VS Code and let's go to our CSS and let's set a class. You can actually come to CSS and you set a class that is not in your HTML file. You just create a class, give it styling, and use it on your document anytime you want to use it. So that's what we shall be doing now. Let's create a class called move and let's give it some properties. Let's say background color, and let's set that to 00, and let's set the font size to 22 pixels, and let's set the color to white. Let's set the height also to 300 pixels. Let's set the width to, let's say, 400 pixels, and that's cool. So this class of move in our CSS can be used anywhere on our web page. So anywhere I want to use this class of move, let's say if I want to use this class of move that I have created here in my CSS file, if I want to use it on any element in my HTML file, let's say I come beneath here and I have a paragraph tag. This is the paragraph tag of the year, and if I want to actually use that class, all I have to do is I'll just come to my HTML file and I'll pass in a class attribute and I'll say move. When I head back to the browser and I refresh my page, I have, this is the paragraph tag of the year with all of those CSS properties that I passed into the class. So you can actually come to your CSS file and create custom classes with designs that you want. Maybe you want all your buttons to take a particular design pattern on your web page. You can come to your CSS file, you create a CSS file that will have those patterns, and you pass in the properties you want in that CSS class. Now back to JavaScript. We have created this class. Let's go here and let's get rid of this. Fine. Now I would want to use the CSS class that I have created on my heading class here, which is .migrant, and which is stored in the my heading variable when an event happens. So I would want that CSS class to be effected on welcome to Migrant Solutions whenever I click it or whenever I toggle. Let's head straight to coding this so you understand what I'm saying properly. So to do that, I would say effect, which is the button that I would have to click for something to happen. So I'll say add event listener, and I'll pass in two arguments here. The first argument should be the event that should happen for the code to run. So the event I want to happen is the click event. I want this function here to be executed when somebody clicks on the button, and currently the button is stored in the effect variable in our JavaScript file. So I would say my heading dot class list, not class list, dot class list dot, let's say, toggle. Then I'd say, then here is where I'll pass in the name of the CSS class here. This is the effect I want to be passed when the click event happens. So I'll pass in the name of the CSS class here, which is move. Then I'll save that. So let's pass in some comments here. Let's say the move word is the name of the class in the CSS file. So let's save that. So let's head back to our browser and let's see what's happening. So, let's reload this. So you see we have this currently. Let me zoom in for everyone to see. So you see we have this currently, and our JavaScript file will make it possible for something to happen when we click on the button, which is touch. So let's click on the button to see what we have. As you can see, welcome to Migrant Solutions came out, and when I click on the touch button again, it goes back. When I click, it opens, and when I click again, it goes back, which is the toggle effect. So we have been able to use the DOM to select elements in our HTML file, and we have been able to pass effects to those elements using the event listener function, and it has come out successfully. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share.